The rooster crowed, signaling the start of a new day. Another day began in New Franklin, Ohio, a town where time seemed to stand still. John Peters, a man of simple pleasures, sipped his coffee, savoring each warm drop. He enjoyed the quiet morning on his porch, a ritual he had cherished for decades. John had lived in his modest home for 40 years, each corner filled with memories. He loved his small-town life, where everyone knew each other and every day felt like a page from a storybook. It was peaceful and familiar, a comforting constant in an ever-changing world. Today, John planned to finally tackle a project he had been dreaming about for years. He wanted to build a small pond in his backyard, a serene spot to reflect and relax. He'd been putting it off for months, always finding an excuse to delay. But today was different. John grabbed his shovel, eager to get started on his long-awaited project. The sun felt warm on his back as he began to dig, the earth yielding to his determination. He enjoyed the physical work. It cleared his head and gave him a sense of purpose. John hummed a tune as he dug, happy as could be, lost in the rhythm of his work. Suddenly the shovel hit something hard. The sound was unmistakable. John frowned. That was unexpected. What could it be? He dug around the obstacle, his curiosity piqued by the mystery beneath the soil. He knelt down, brushing away the dirt with care, revealing more of the hidden object. John's eyes widened. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was like a scene from a movie. It was a metal box buried deep in his backyard. It looked old and tarnished, as if it had been there for many years. John carefully lifted the box out of the hole, feeling its surprising weight. He brushed off the remaining dirt, revealing more of the box's intricate details. It was heavier than he expected, adding to the mystery of its contents. John's heart pounded with anticipation. What could be inside? He pried open the box, his hands trembling with excitement. Inside, nestled in faded velvet, were 30 silver-colored bars, each one gleaming faintly in the sunlight. Each one was cool to the touch and surprisingly heavy, a treasure hidden in plain sight. John had never seen anything like it. The sight before him was both mesmerizing and perplexing. The bars gleamed dully in the sunlight, casting reflections that danced on the ground. He picked one up, turning it over in his hand, feeling its weight and texture. It was heavier than any metal he knew. Curiosity gnawed at him. What were these bars? They seemed almost otherworldly. And how did they end up buried in his backyard? The question swirled in his mind. John rushed inside, the metal bar still clutched in his hand, his heart pounding with excitement and confusion. He went straight to his computer. He needed answers, and he needed them now. He typed heavy silver metal bars into the search engine, hoping for some clue, some explanation. He hoped for some clue, some explanation. The search results were a mix of common metals and obscure references. He clicked on the first few links, but nothing seemed relevant. Frustration began to build. He scrolled down the page, frustration building. Each click felt like a dead end. Then a link caught his eye. It was different from the rest. It was a website about rare and precious metals. His interest was piqued. John clicked on it. His interest piqued. The page loaded slowly, adding to his anticipation. He scanned the page, his heart skipping a beat. The information was overwhelming. There, in the middle of the screen, was a picture of a metal bar. It looked identical to the ones he'd found. The resemblance was uncanny. The caption under the picture sent chills down John's spine. He could hardly believe his eyes. Californium, the most expensive metal on Earth. The words seemed to leap off the screen. Californium! John had never even heard of it. His mind raced with possibilities. He read on, his mind reeling. The more he read, the more incredible it seemed. According to the website, californium was a radioactive element used in nuclear reactors and cancer treatment. Its applications were vast and varied. It was incredibly rare and incredibly valuable. John could hardly fathom the significance of his discovery. John learned that californium was not naturally occurring. It was a man-made element synthesized in laboratories. It was created in nuclear reactors, atom by atom, through a painstaking process. The process was complex and expensive, requiring an advanced technology and highly skilled scientists. That's why californium was so incredibly rare and valuable. The website said that only a few grams were produced each year, making it one of the rarest elements on Earth. John looked at the bars in his hand. 30 bars, each one potentially worth a fortune. He did a quick calculation, his heart racing with anticipation. If each bar weighed just 1 ounce, he had almost 2 pounds of californium, an unimaginable amount. He read on, his head spinning with the implications of his discovery. The website said that a single gram of californium was valued at over $27 million, a staggering amount. John's mind struggled to grasp the enormity of his discovery. He felt a mix of excitement and disbelief. He had stumbled upon a fortune beyond his wildest dreams, a life-changing amount of wealth. He reread the website several times, making sure he understood correctly. Each time, the numbers remained the same. He wasn't a scientist, but the information seemed clear. He had found californium, one of the rarest and most valuable elements, and not just a small amount. He had a significant quantity. He had enough to make him one of the richest men in the world, a discovery that would change his life forever. John sat back in his chair, overwhelmed. He looked at the bars in his hands, now seeing them in a whole new light. These weren't just pieces of metal. They were his ticket to a life he could only dream of. He thought about what he could do with the money. He could finally retire, travel the world, and help his family. He imagined exotic beaches, luxurious hotels, and first-class flights. He'd never even been on a plane before. He thought about his children and grandchildren. He could give them the best education, the best health care. He could secure their futures, something he'd always dreamed of doing. But as the initial shock wore off, a sense of caution crept in. John knew that possessing such a valuable and potentially dangerous substance was no small matter. He needed to be careful. He couldn't just walk into a bank and try to sell it. He needed a plan.